Dublin doesn't know what's hit it. This is obviously, of course, an everyday occurrence. UK. What's this guy doing here? Hello.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Yuri, you had a
Because that's a
question.
gratification.
Yeah, Miss Fox, I was just thinking about it and just, I'm trying to visualize. And I went on your page and read some feedback. And there was a particular feedback where you had made a heterosexual man gave another man or had another man's dick in his mouth.
Oh yeah.
That must really be powerful. How do you stimulate that? How do you get people to do kinky shit like that when it's not something that they do in their normal space?
So forced bi really is so hot for me. It is the ultimate submission of man. For me, it's forced bi and money, because we know money is power, right? So if you take that away, that money is so hard to come by, and to give it away so freely is on the receiving end of that. And forced bi, I think, is another one, because you are literally challenging what it is to be a man. If you look at religion, obviously, and if you look at society, it is just man bees with woman. There's nothing else that they want to accept. Thankfully, we live in the UK now. We're a very progressive country where being gay is accepted, and it's fabulous that it is. But with straight men, with the background of being straight, then when they come into my space, I mean, some of them sometimes might say, oh, you know, they've had fantasies about other men, but it will remain a fantasy. It's not something they want to act on. Whereas I'll be like, but you just told me something there, and that's my bell to be like, it's go time. So then I might surprise them and bring in another straight man who's loyal to me, that doesn't have any, you know, fantasies about being bisexual or being gay, but he's so loyal to me that he will facilitate this situation and allow that to happen because it's something that I want, you know. So that, for me, forced bi is one of the most amazing experiences for me as a dominatrix to be a part of. And the guys that I've done it with, I've done 2 forced bi sessions ever, and only one of them told me that they had bi tendencies. All of the other ones had been straight, but they'd just been so loyal to me that they wanted to do that for me. Yeah.
Okay. So how, as obviously, when you have these slaves that come around and they want you to humiliate them or do something, do they ever try to do what they haven't paid for, or do they, out of sexual frustration, do they charge at you, for example? Do you have someone there to protect you? And that's one face of the question. And legally, are you covered? Even
so I always have a chaperone with me anyway, but when I build up my relationships with men, you know, we know that we're on a level. Generally, men don't try it with me because of my personality. If you are a woman, you know, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, if you're not confident in your job and you're not confident in yourself, then you will always be taken advantage of by men in any sort of avenue of your life. Men don't try it with me. They've never been in my space and tried to challenge me in any sort of way. When I was new, though, I did say, right, if you wanted to come and meet me, which he did. I can't remember which country he was from, but he wanted to fly into the UK. And I said, well, I need to make sure that my chaperone is available. And he said to me, well, do you think he could take me? And that was, and I said, from that, I would never meet him, of course, because he was trying to challenge the situation. I know that he's not a kinkster and he's not submissive, so I'm not going to put myself in that situation. However, I've seen it happen a number of times where women let their guard down around men like that, and, you know, they end up attacked and they end up doing all these things. So for me, it's not a situation that I found myself in personally, because I don't make myself vulnerable, you know. And legal wise, what do you mean by legal wise? Like, in what aspect?
Insurance.
So, I mean, are you covered? Maybe if something was to happen and maybe someone then went out and said, well, I didn't agree to that and you took advantage of me.
Well, so I think I'm quite lucky because I don't practice the harder fetishes. However, I have had to call the police myself, not necessarily on people that I've met. I've called the police. I've called the police more on other women in the scene than I have, as in my peers, other dominatrices, more than actual men in the scene. Women, it's a very difficult and interesting dynamic when you're all dominant women in the same space. There is this insecurity that still lies, and they see you as competition, even though I don't subscribe to that. I'm just happy doing myself. So the only thing I would say is, legal wise, I mean, I'm lucky where I live, is that the police officer and the police officers I have in my area are very good. And anytime I've had any sort of incidences, they have been on it. They really have been on it, and they've understood. One officer that I have in my area, he's brilliant, he's lovely, and he knows sex work, he understands it, he's been in the community himself. So anytime that there's an issue, which thankfully hasn't been that often, twice I've had him come to my house, and he's be like, yeah, great, I've done this, blah blah blah. And I even tweeted about him actually a few months ago. He's like, I saw it, thanks. Yeah, I'm quite lucky. And I know that's quite rare though, where people don't feel protected enough. And I think this is what would come in if we were decriminalized, is that a lot more women would feel more comfortable about being protected by the police. I mean, we've seen it nowadays since, we've obviously had the two tragic murders of the two sisters, and then obviously Sarah Everard. Like, women aren't feeling as confident and comfortable with police anymore, so, and generally haven't been. So with those incidents coming to the forefront and coming to light, is making people retreat more. However, I feel very lucky that I do have officers in my area that if anything was to go wrong, thankfully nothing has been too serious. It's been serious enough though for me to have to call the police, but they've been very helpful to me. And
given that you go to Dubai, which is a Sharia country, a Muslim country, are you not scared at all?
I mean, I don't go there anymore now. When I did before, I would say that I probably had quite a bit of naivety with it. When I first went there, I actually just went with a friend. And we were just, two girls on holiday, and I thought, oh, well, let me just try a little bit of this dominatrixing over here, and it went really well. So when I went back the next times, the problems I kind of faced was actually, I did a trip with another two dominatrixes, and one of them was not careful at all, and she was very too brazen and too naive about things, and I think she probably felt a bit protected because I was there, but I was not. I'm very, being a black woman already in Dubai is quite rare, so I have to really make sure that I am blending in as much as I can. So I've never had any bad experiences generally with submissives, let alone in Dubai, because I vet my submissives. I know them mostly before I go anyway. And I make sure that when I'm practicing in spaces, I'm in places where there is security and things like that. But so I've never had any problems, because I make sure that I myself are not vulnerable, and I can weed people out very easily. If they're going to cause me trouble, they do not see me, they do not get to communicate with me ever again. I'm very strict. If I get the tiniest bit that you're going to cause trouble, goodbye, forever. It's a non-negotiable. Forever, you are gone.
I know you were, when we were talking about bringing you on the show, and we talked about Nigeria, and I said, please don't go there, because the police to say the least.
I know.
For me, I just feel it's not a safe environment. So would you ever consider going to a country like that to be a dominatrix?
No. What I would really love to do is, I've spoken to a few Nigerian submissives, and they do say, oh, come to Nigeria. And I'm like, joking about it. Maybe one day. The chances are I probably wouldn't. I hope one day, maybe in the future would be possible, because
I think we should go to Lagos. It happens in Lagos already.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. I've been reading a lot more about the underground scene there, and generally just with even the gay scene as well. I've been reading more about it. So I think it's definitely good progression they're having. I think for me it's a bit too early, because it's a bit too new.
We had a gentleman who had two ladies on the leash. He did it publicly, and he did it for a long time.
Pretty Mike. He had more than two.
Until haters went to report. So.
Yeah, but women, though, again, it's not something that people bat their eylids at. It's men.
That's almost like the norm, isn't it? But try to do that to a man and have two men on the leash, and especially in Africa, you're something else. Anyway, let me go. Yeah, go on.
And I think Pretty Mike wasn't doing it as a dom. He was doing it for attention.
He was doing it for attention, and that's what a lot of these celebrities do. They just do it to get seen, and oh, look what I can do.
Can I ask? Because I was looking at the old terminology about dominatrix. There's lifestyle dom and there's dom. And I understand that within the BDSM community, it's a very contentious term. Why is it that? What's a lifestyle dom anyway?
A lifestyle dom, I guess, would say of someone like me who just is a dominant woman first and foremost, but I then can dominate men in any other aspect. And if they end up in a relationship with me, then I'm going to continue to dominate them. The dom term, though, I think mainly just, this is my perspective on it, is that saying dom mainly means a professional dominatrix. So somebody who works in a dungeon, somebody who does it for a living and gets paid for it. Whereas a lifestyle dom, money doesn't necessarily come into it, you know? So that's the two different terms in my interpretation of it. Yeah.
Okay. Now let me go to another very interesting aspect of this. We've talked about it on the show a few times, and we've even we've talked about it. We have a video about it, and I remember when we did that video in 2018, Jude, you were on that video as well. And I did say if there were any dominatrix out there, you know, that knew what was happening or what goes on or how it's done, I would like to have them on the show so that they can come and talk to us and explain it to us. And this is pegging, right? Okay, good old pegging, right? So a lot of people believe that a man who enjoys pegging is gay or bi, right? Now tell us about this.
A man's G-spot is in his arse. He can't help that. He cannot help that. It doesn't make him gay. If he wants to be stimulated up there, it doesn't make it gay. I think the problem is that when you peg someone, it looks obviously very phallic when you're wearing the device. Pegging is not something I do because I'm very protective over my femininity. Like growing up as a Black woman, I don't know if you two have felt this, is that men's interpretation of what a woman should be is very much like the white kind of perspective. Oh, she should be small framed and blonde haired and anything else, and especially with Black, like you're a man straight away. So I don't have any inkling to attach anything that resembles a penis on me. So that's also why I don't peg, and plus because I say I don't do the harder, more sexual fetishes anyway. But the pegging, it's very psychological to me. I would rather fuck a man as a woman, right? And I would rather a man be fucked by another man for humiliation. You know, so pegging is not something I would do. I'd just be like, you're going to be in a forced by situation where I'm going to get another man to fuck you.
Right. So you would never do it to any of your submissives?
No, not my submissives. I have pegged before, though. I have pegged once before. It was actually with a guy I was dating because he was interested in it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'm trying it. It's kind of hot. He was really good looking as well. So it's like, yeah, this is cool for my one sexual experience, but it's not something that I definitely would be excited about doing, you know, ever again. But yeah, the whole gay thing is just, I mean, obviously in the Black community, homophobia is prevalent. It's prevalent, and we need to stop using terms like that's gay and this is gay. It's not fucking gay. It's not gay. It is just a case of your G-spot is up your ass. If you want it stimulated, things are going to have to go up there. Otherwise, just don't do it. Just don't do it, and don't have a go or like judge people who do want to explore their sexuality in that way. They're doing it with a woman, for God's sake. Like how is that gay anymore if they're even practicing it with a woman? You're just being very fragile about your own sexuality in that respect. So just shut your face and let them enjoy themselves. You will get there one day.
Okay, so 2 questions for you, Miss Foxx. What would you say to a man that secretly wants to be pegged by his wife, but is not sure how to tell her
about it? Well, actually, do you know what? I went out with a guy many years ago when I was younger, and he used to have his own vibrators and everything like that. And this was before we actually started dating each other. This was the first guy and probably only guy that I've ever known who wasn't into kink and BDSM that actually had his own vibrators, and he used to tell me about it. I'd be like, wow, you're progressive, man. Like you are progressive. This was probably when I was in my late teens, 20s, and he was in his 20s as well. So for me, I was more comfortable in the fact that he was comfortable with his sexuality, you know, and it's the same conversation. It's just, if you are comfortable with playing with yourself and doing these things on yourself, then you make your other play partners more comfortable with it as well, you know. So if a man wants to be pegged, I'd say the same thing. try it yourself, get your own tools, get your own devices, you know, start experimenting with that, say what you like about it, and then relay that to your partner saying, oh, it felt really good in this. And, you know, then the lady will start, you know, with one finger and the two fingers.
And then the whole thing.
Okay, and what would be your message to that wife, or should I use the word that African wife,
Okay,
whose husband has said to her, darling, actually, I would like us to use this device, right? What advice do you have for her initial reaction, so he doesn't run back into his shell?
Yeah. It is, imagine if, I would say, react in the way that if he was just telling you he was dying, you know, if you can show that much empathy, if your partner was telling you he was dying, or someone he knew, you would be like, okay, this is really big news. A man to tell you that he wants something up his arse is really big news. Like, it might sound extreme to compare those two things, but some men would rather die than have us. Like, they means that it is homosexual, or it is terrible, it is awful, that, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody, you have to accept everything about them. That's what you signed up for. If you don't agree with it, then don't be with them. Don't make that other person feel bad about something that they might want in their relationship. I think if a man is confident enough to come to you and say those things, obviously he loves you so much, and he is so comfortable to say these things. So the reaction is to be like, oh my God, he trusted me with this. This man loves me. Even if you don't understand it or you don't want to do it, just respect that fact that he said, you know, he wanted to try this. Just be like, well, thank you so much. It might not be for me right now, but maybe we could explore it eventually. Like, always be open to things in a relationship. If things stay the same, people get bored. They get so bored, and that's when the affair start and people start looking elsewhere. Relationships are fluid. They're not just one thing, and this is what we signed up for on day one, and that's what we're going to be at like year 20 or something like that. You know, you have to keep moving with the times. You have to keep exploring each other. And if he comes with something, as I said, if you're not that keen on it and you don't like it, say you don't like it, but maybe you're willing to try other things around it. Suggest other things. Don't just close the door on one thing. Just say, okay, well, maybe that's not quite for me, but maybe there's something else we could try. And build, keep growing. And then you learn so much of yourself when you start to open your world up. You know, you start opening your world up in your relationship.
Okay, so are there things like Fandom parties, for example? You know, like the way they have orgies and stuff.
Yes,
Are there Fandom parties as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's lots of FEMDOM parties. There's lots of FEMDOM events in the UK, actually. I was having this conversation with a Dom friend of mine and her partner who is submissive, and they actually met through the BDSM scene, about actually how lucky we are to have quite a number of FEMDOM parties and events in the UK. There are other scenes in other countries. I particularly prefer the American scene, because I find it much more welcoming. Here, I found it to be, you know, this competition thing that I said earlier, I found it to be very competitive and too insecure for me to enjoy it fully. I've dabbled in events here and there, but it's not something that I participate in anymore. I don't go to any events anymore. However, for a newbie, I absolutely recommend going to FEMDOM events and FEMDOM parties, but just being very sort of aware. But I think generally what I would suggest for women, especially Black women and African women, is actually going to general events and seeing how men play, seeing how women play, and doing a lot of spectating. You can learn a lot, obviously, just visually by watching what people do. So I would definitely, the best event that anyone can go to, regardless of what experience you have, you must have heard of Torture Garden. Have you heard of Torture Garden? No. Torture Garden is a huge UK event and it's in London, and people come from all over the world. But the funny thing is, a lot of my vanilla friends went to Torture Garden before I went to Torture Garden.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely a great way to have a way in, because you go, you get dressed up, you see a bit of kink, and it's not overly in your face. It's not, all too shock factor, too intimidating. It's a nice, a nice
kink.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's a nice little taste.
Little kink.
yeah, nice little taste a bit to go into and explore. So that's what I definitely say. If you're a Black woman, go to those bigger events, look, explore, try and talk to some people as well, and just build your confidence.
So what sort of things will happen in parties like that, for example?
You see a lot of flogging, you see a lot of whipping, you see generally I wouldn't say there's that much penetration. There are, like, they have different rooms where there's more penetration, but out and about you do see people like up on a St. Andrew's cross, you know, when people are tied up like this, and you know, they're being very much teased, and maybe they're having nipple torture. It's very kind of light stuff, but you see that those people are genuinely in a relationship, so it's very, you can see they're talking to them, so it's very more sensual and sexual. It's not like what you would watch in femdom porn or any dominatrix porn, where it is more extreme. You don't see those at parties and events. Those scenes are primarily on camera, you know, they're not for the public.
Okay. So what about so the men that come there, are they married men just coming and leaving their wives at home?
Well, some of them come with their wives, because their wives are also dominatrixes as well. You know, they have a lot of the relationships that you do see there are a man with his dominant wife, you know, so that dynamic you do see quite a lot. And sometimes, yeah, you do see married men. I mean, I've had married men come with me as their dominatrix and their wives are at home. So yeah, there's all different types of dynamics. You see boyfriends and girlfriends come together who are exploring kink together for the first time. There's lots of different avenues. Yeah, Black men though are rare at these things. Like I've seen maybe like 2 in my time. I definitely have had more interaction with them online, but regarding the kink scene, I think also because I don't know if
Embarrassed,
also
shy.
Yeah, they're embarrassed and shy, and I think also because we put it out there, it's mainly white submissives, that they probably don't feel like there's a space for them. It's that cycle, you know, when you portray one thing, that's what you think it is. If you're not seeing enough Black submissives, they think that it's too rare for them, and it's not something that actually they are comfortable with being, because they're not seeing their role models in that, or they're not seeing anyone reflected, you know, in that. So there definitely needs to be more Black men, but the problem is like, how do we, because we're not the ones to solve this problem, it's Black men that need to be the confident ones to
Jude, maybe you and your friends can arrange to go to the next.
I guess I don't personally, I don't
you
have
and your
issues with
silver
those things.
Fox guys can arrange to go to the next.
Of course,
honestly
well, that's part of why we're doing Silver Fox. We're just trying to explore different things, trying to bring Black men out. That's the reason for Silver Fox, trying to test the waters and break those stereotypes. But for me, I don't have issues with exploring and all of that. I don't put any stereotype tags to it. But I can understand why Black men would not want to go out there. They prefer. I've heard so much from my Black brothers what they do. But if it was to be outdoor exhibition, they would never go through the door. But the
good thing is when you go to these events, though, there are no cameras, there are no phones. You know, these things are very so I would love to see more Black men at these events. Like, I remember when I was 18 going into my first gay club in London and seeing Black gay men in the clubs. I was shook. I was like, this is amazing, honestly. And then now obviously there's more. We're like years down the line. So seeing more Black men in these spaces also gives other people confidence to play with Black men as well, because I think there's this thing that, you know, it's the same with Black women, where we were a bit untouchable to start with because we're the niche, we're rare. Now we have more white submissives and Black submissives and Asian submissives, and everyone around the world comes to see us because we're putting ourselves out there as being dominatrixes. So when Black submissives start putting themselves out as submissives, but actually they're having more knowledge about what it is to be submissive, then the whole dynamic changes. The problem we have in the community with Black submissives, not with Black submissives, sorry, let me rephrase that properly, is the problem with Black submissives trying to explore their kink is that white dominatrices will come in and just racially abuse them. It's not even humiliation, it is just N-word this, like slur here, slur there, everywhere. And it's horrible. Yeah, it's really horrible to watch because there's no common sense behind the domination. There's no common sense, and it's the Black men might think that this is what they want, But I know it's not what they want. Nobody really wants to be called a slur, do they?
Yeah,
Nobody
it shouldn't
really
be racial though, should it? It should just be about, you know, dominating and doing whatever
Yeah.
the man wants. It shouldn't be about your color or anything like that. Now,
Yeah. Sometimes the dynamic is.
Yeah, go on.
As I say, sometimes the dynamic is, I say for me especially, I've had white men come to me specifically because I am black, and I have black men come to me specifically because I am black, because they know that I'm the only one that can talk to them in the way that they need, basically. So the problem is when it's the other way around, like black men haven't, in my opinion, been dominated in the best way by white women, because I said it's just a lot of name calling and very sort of low level domination. It's not been empowering or educating, and it's fine to be humiliated, of course it is, that's someone's kink or fetish, but if that's the only thing that you're thinking of, and the only way that you think that's the only way you can dominate a black man is to call him names, then that just says about what you're dominatrixing in, which actually isn't fabulous.
Isn't it funny though, what you've just said, that a lot of black men will come to you to be dominated because they know that you know how to speak to them.
Yeah.
Whereas some very successful black men would often go and marry white women because they feel that they can control them and they don't ask questions, and they sort of, I don't want to use the term do as they're told, but they don't get challenged like a white woman would, like a black woman would challenge them. Isn't that funny?
It is, yeah. I always find those dynamics really interesting. I think it might be not dying out, but there might be more of a shift a little bit now, I think, because a lot of that was to do with actually how black women are portrayed, like how they're portrayed in the media, how, you know, we're seen to be aggressive, all these, like there's so much negative connotations to us that white women were always the standard to be upheld to. So it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go with them because that's what is normal. You know, I don't think necessarily it's because of how we are. It's just that we've been made to seem like we're the bad guys.
Okay.
You know,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to reintroduce you for those that are just joining us, and for those that haven't seen the beginning of this, you guys need to go and watch from the beginning. Okay, so again, we have Miss Foxx in the studio today. Miss Foxx is a naturally dominant black woman who was introduced into financial domination. She then went on to discover the amazing world of female domination, for which she has physically dominated throughout the UK, Europe, USA, India, United Arab Emirates, and she has clients all over the world. So Miss Foxx, I'm going to go to another aspect of BDSM, which is called ball bursting. What is this about? I cannot imagine someone having their ball stamped on or hit or smack. I don't know. Tell us, what happens there?
Well, actually, I'd like to ask Jude this question, actually. Like, Jude, you must have like been accidentally hitting the balls, like you've hurt yourself.
With a cricket ball and all of that.
And how did that feel?
Oh gosh, it's like, I don't know how to say it. It's like you're almost losing your life though. You suddenly realize that your whole life existence is there.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the feeling. Yeah.
So for men to willingly want that is next level, right? It's next level. It really is the most incredible thing to, I mean, I remember myself. I was a kid and I went over a speed bump really hard on a bike, and I smashed into my other friend's bike and I hit like my pelvic bone on the handlebars, and that killed me. I was like, Jesus Christ. So for men willingly to be hitting their balls, and I've seen
to get it done.
Yes, like the pain they experience, but also some of them are so resistant to the pain. It's incredible. I've literally stumped, kicked, and they can just stand there. Balls of steel. It's where it comes from. Some of them do have balls of steel when they're like harder. I'm like, I literally don't have any more strength in my leg.
I can't go any harder.
I can't go any harder. So it really is amazing. But again, you know, the best thing about being a female dominatrix and working with men is challenging the dynamic between men and women and getting them to understand their masculinity. They know their masculinity lies down there. So anything we have to do with down there, whether it's punishing them, whether it's even in like normal relationships, whether it's like having sex with a man and, you know, he's using his dick, anything down there, and manipulating down there, playing down there, teasing down there, it really gets them to tap into the proper brain, the proper brain, not the male brain, the human brain up here. You know, it gets them to look at life in a different way. So ball busting is definitely one of those things where they're like, right, okay, I'm going to push my masculinity as far and as hard as I can. And if I can get kicked in this, I'm the ultimate man, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, that's what a lot of them feel like.
So biologically, health-wise, doesn't it affect? Because I'm always thinking about the sperm when all this is going on. So I'm thinking, what's going on there biologically? Isn't it dangerous?
I think if they take too many, it can be. I mean, obviously, if a man ejaculates too much, we know that his sperm count goes down. If you take too many kicks, you can obviously damage the penis itself. It is a muscle. So, you know, too much can actually damage it. I mean, I've seen some like broken cocks pretty much, like that have been bent to the side. You know,
because of ball busting.
I'm not sure because of ball busting, because of some general BDSM play that, you know, it has been kind of like a sprained dick. Not from me, but from...
How is that then structured back? Because it goes...
it's permanent like this. It's
so when they're erect, it just goes like this?
Yeah, it's just bent.
So how's it going to go in? If it needs to go in?
Wow.
Sorry.
You find a way.
You just angle yourself.
Oh my God.
Okay, so you know caning and spanking, because again I've seen videos of you and poor man, his ass was red sore, bleeding, and I'm thinking, how is he going to sit down?
Yeah.
I remember then in Africa, when you would do something bad, your parents will cane you and then put pepper on that bomb, so you can't even sit on it. So I'm looking at this man thinking, oh my God, how?
You know what? You're giving me ideas there.
Oh,
You're giving me ideas. Next one I do, I'm gonna add some pepper.
Oh my God.
Please, that was not my intention. Right, okay.
Just have a glass of milk beside you.
Glass of milk to neutralize.
Well, it goes on the bomb, not the mouth. So they won't.
No, the milk will help.
Oh, will it? Right. So what's going on there, Miss Foxx? I mean, don't you feel sorry for them when those men? I've seen the videos. Their bum red sore. I wonder how they sit down after it. And if they're married men, when they get home, what do they say to their wives when they can't really see on their bum, or when the wife sees those marks that you've left? What happens there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that one, because recently I did actually whip and cane a guy who said that he didn't care what his wife thought when he got home. And then I asked him, well, then, you know, have you done this before? I've seen him before, actually, a few times. It's actually in Ireland. So when I go over to Ireland, I've seen him a few times. And he said at this point, I just don't care anymore. But he said that a previous mistress also had whipped him to, you know, that his wife would see the marks. That's a discussion for him to have in his household. You know, it's nothing to do with me. It's not my business. No, I'm doing my job here. It's what I'm paid to do. Any conversations that any fall out, you deal with that at home. But I mean, obviously you would assume, since he's been home before with marks, she knows what's going on, and it's up to them to decide whether, you know, he's going to continue, if she's comfortable with it, or if she's not. You know, I don't know. That's their relationship.
Okay. So has a friend's partner ever paid you to dominate them?
No, but I would love it if they did.
Why?
To be honest with you, I really think that there are a lot of husbands and a lot of my personal friends and boyfriends who were like, you know what, I could just like pop across the road to her. I've got a bit of time on my lunch break. You know, everyone's working from home, but some of them aren't working from home. And it's like, I can just, you know,
pop over
for a little bit of, you know, afternoon kink. Yeah. So and I see the way they look at me sometimes, and I'm like, we have the look of like, one day.
Have you ever dominated a friend?
I did unintentionally. So this was back at university. So when I said I dressed up as a dominatrix and I had people calling me, I put them around my friends, you know, necks and like making them go down to the floor. But it was like play back then. It was like, I'm playing the role of the dominatrix. So those people are obviously not surprised that I'm actually doing it now full time. I'm trying to think if I've done friends. I've done I've ended up in weird situations with guys who have been my friends, but I'm not friends with any straight guys, I need to say. Like, I don't know if you ladies have the same experience, but a lot of men can't be friends with women because they always like breach the boundaries. Like, there's no respect of the friendship there. It's like they go to the next level. It's like, hold on, we were just supposed to be friends. So I've like messed around with some guy friend when I used to have guy friends, like just pretending BDSM, but I see that like switch in their head go like, oh, we've gone to another level and this isn't play anymore, this is something else now. Whereas I can dip in and out of whatever character I need to be, and I know my boundary is this is this is real, this is not. But no, I would definitely say don't play with your friends.
So if a friend's partner came to you and said, I want you to dominate me, would you see that as cheating?
That's an interesting.
Because if you're not having any sexual contact, you know, would that be cheating? Or
what I would say is like the same thing with my friend. So when I said I saw that my friend's partner was, I would explain it to them. I would explain it to my friend and say, look, your partner has said that they want to do this. I'm okay with them coming to see me, but how do you feel about it? Because that's my friend, and they might not understand, and they might think that I'm cheating on them with them, and I don't want them to think that, because our friendship is more important than whatever experience.
But what if the guy don't want you to tell
are you
them
breaking
about
the confidentiality code there? With
I'm a woman. I will always put my female friends this guy, you know, I will always put her first, you know, so I wouldn't want her to feel any sort of way. Yeah, exactly. So I'd bring it to the table first, and I say, look, this is, you know, my job. Are you okay with it?
Okay.
And I'll be like, okay, well, I've spoken to your wife, because that's how we would generally do it in the BDSM scene anyway, is if another submissive who is owned or has a relationship with another dominatrix, they would have to get their permission from the wife anyway. So I would definitely see it as being disrespectful to my friendship if I didn't. So that's more important to me than the guy who I probably
that's a good virtue to have.
Okay, just a final question before I round up. So is your family accepting of what you're doing? Do they know, and are they accepting of it?
They know. Whether they're accepting is another thing. I mean, they accept that this is me and I'm a grown woman. I can decide what it is that I want to do with my life. But, you know, I have a Nigerian father and I have a West Indian mother. I was born and raised in the UK, and I'm one of 3 girls. And I know that my father especially was like, why don't I have boys? Why don't I have boys? Where are the boys? Always. So I'll be like, sorry, Dad. It's not my fault. You provided the sperm.
Yeah,
you know. So it took me a while to open up to them and tell them what I was doing. My sisters knew for a very long time, and my friends all knew, but my parents were the last ones to know. And I only told them maybe about 3-4 years ago, I think. And it was very emotional for me, because my relationship with my parents was not great for the longest of years. And then it became really amazing. You know, we were talking more, communicating much better. So I felt that if I told them that I was doing this job, that it would just undo all the hard work that we've done, and they would just, I was crying my eyes out. I wrote a letter and I was sitting there reading it to them, and I was crying so hard. And they were like, okay. I was like, okay. And my mum, my mum asked me 3 questions, and I thought, oh wow, she actually doesn't know me that well. She asked me 3 questions. She said, so first of all, she did have the preconception of, you know, is it prostitution? She said, am I a prostitute? I said, no. And then the next question was, am I a lesbian? Because I probably had feminist tendencies. So she's like, oh, my mum's old school. She's from Grenada. And then that was the 3rd question. The second question asked me if I was on drugs. Like, no.
I guess the 3 questions she asked though. So we associate stuff like this with his other. It was not just mother, like though.
As a mum, that's what she thought. Those 3 things meant I must be doing those things to just enjoy she's in BDSM. But my dad was hilarious, because he sent me a video of this woman spanking this man and a paddle. He said, is this what you do?
What you do?
It's like, yeah, I said, in a roundabout way, but ours is really brutal and not okay, but I do that. And he was like, oh, okay. So yeah, they don't ask me too many questions. I mean, I tell them some things, and I tell my mum lots more things, because as I've been explaining to you guys, for me it's a very psychological thing, and it's got me to learn more about myself as a Black woman. So everything that I learn, I say it in exactly the same way with my mum. Oh, mum, I might have had a guy down at my feet kissing my feet today, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a man who I know that I can control, I can dominate. He respects me as a woman in this space. And in your relationship, mum, like, do you feel like my dad respects you? Blah, blah, blah. I always translate everything that I learn in BDSM to real life experiences. And that's what gets people to understand it more, So yeah, they get it now.
So do any of your slaves become obsessed, and does that turn you off?
There's healthy obsessions and there's unhealthy obsessions. So like when I said about that slave that was too possessive, that was an unhealthy obsession, because he was really affecting my other relationships. But I've had boys who are so obsessed with me that they were just so committed, they're in love, and they will pay whatever it takes, and they will be so happy, they'll be laughing and giggling, and that's a healthy obsession, because we're both laughing about it. And I have one of them who would sing me happy birthdays, he would give me my birthday card with money in, and he would just have the biggest smile on his face, and it used to make me so happy seeing how happy he was to submit to me. So, and they were both the slaves actually that served me for 8 years. One of them had a unhealthy obsession, and one of them had a healthy obsession, and he knew when things were getting a bit too much for him, so he would be like, I need to take a little bit of time out. But we had to work up to that point though, because I had to say to him, can you just tell me if you need to have some alone time? Just tell me, I'm cool with that. So yeah, let's do this.
I have one question, because I know you're about to wrap up. So in your relationship with your boyfriend, is that vanilla?
In my dating, it is very vanilla. So I have had relationships.
How do you turn off? Because how do you turn off from vanilla
I think
to the other side?
The funny thing is, I'm like really into star signs, but I don't have like any Gemini about me, so I'm not like split personality. Yeah, I'm not. I'm a Libra, very well balanced. I'm Sagittarius and Scorpio, moon sign and rising sign. But I find it just very easy. I'm an easily adaptable person anyway, so I can talk to a stranger on the street. I can find anything to have in common with anyone, really. So my vanilla relationships, they do know what I do, and sometimes they want to get involved. So I have had previous boyfriends before that have been involved in filming with me, because they've been like, oh, this is interesting, this is fun, so, and they've wanted to support me as a working dominatrix. So yeah, and anybody I date and have dated since I've been a dominatrix will know and understand that is me. That's who I partly am. I have lots of different personalities and different sides to me. That's just, being a dominatrix is just one side. Yeah.
Okay, so on your website you have different things that you sell. For example, you sell spit, saliva for £50. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, oh my god. So how does she do it? Does she put it in a can and they buy like holy water, or the way people will purchase those things? So how do you sell spit?
Yeah, not since Corona I have, but since the Rona, since the Panasonic, no. But before then, I used to just put it in like little vials. So you just buy a little vial, wrap it in some nice bubble wrap, do a nice note, and then whatever they choose to do with my saliva is up to them.
Well, you post it off.
Yeah, post it. Yeah, and you can do like hair, foot shavings, nail clippings, anything like eyelashes, anything from a woman is literally so priceless and so valuable. Men will pay for anything that you sell.
Well, do you ever think, is there any time you think, this is beyond normal for the guys, not for you, but for the guys with their request? Do you ever think, oh no, this is bordering on mental health? Oh no, this is not normal?
That's the funny thing. I think mental health is a very interesting subject in itself, because me personally, I struggled with depression for like 23 years or something like that, a very, very long time. And it was a lot to do with my family dynamic. My family background isn't great. And then you know, as I said, living as a Black woman in this country, being subject to racism and insecurity and all those kind of things, and learning to be confident in myself. I dealt with a lot of mental health issues on how I like knew myself to be who I knew I was, but the society wasn't letting me be who I was supposed to be. So when it comes to things like kinks and fetishes and the things that guys are interested in, I don't have any judgments anymore, because I know myself and I know themselves, and I know they know themselves. Well, I hope they know themselves. The only problem where mental health issues come into it for me is when it borders on dangerous, like they're fantasizing their lives, which is sometimes they have executrix fetish that we have, where it's whether they're taking some of those fantasies and really wanting to act upon them. So there are some things we have to do, which obviously we have a disclaimer of, like, we don't want you to end your life today, or we don't want you to go and like stab yourself, or like, you know, just anything that could be really quite tough to deal with in society's interpretation of what their fetish could be, you know. So I find that because I've been subjected to so many kinks and so many fetishes, I don't really see a lot of, maybe I'm being too subjective with this, I don't really see a lot of mental health issues from men. As I say, it's mainly the women that I've dealt with. It's a lot of trauma that they haven't particularly dealt with themselves, and that's why I've personally been on the end of some of their inabilities to communicate with me as a peer, as a Black woman, as another confident woman. There's a lot of drug usage amongst them. There's a lot of aggression amongst them as well. And there's this thing that we go through where it's this, I've mentioned it a little bit earlier, it's respected. And sometimes with that, like, our egos can go like way over the top, like way over, where we start treating other people like crap, you know, and we feel like we own the joint and we're the bee's knees and all that. And I've seen it, which is awful to witness, where some dominatrices will talk to, you know, if we're at restaurants, they will talk to wait staff with disrespect because they don't necessarily understand the blur between, well, no, there's a line between what's real and you know, playing with your submissive. So that's the only.
On a lighter note, though, before Silly round up, I know with all of these shavings and nail clippings and eyebrows and the speed, did you ever stop to think, my gosh, they must be cloning me out there? They must have like 15 mixed folks out there. Did you ever stop to think that?
Oh, if somebody is, I would love that. Honestly, I've always wanted an identical twin or triplet. Just imagine Miss Foxx ×3. Hello.
That's a lot of money making moves.
Yes.
But that will affect your pocket, though. That will affect your pocket,
the coins that would come through, honestly, because I would go to sleep. The other two will be working.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
I wouldn't be worried about that. Hopefully they would tell me though if they're cloning me.
Okay, so do some of the men let you just spit on them whilst they're there? They do. Do they have to still pay for that, or is all part of the part of the
as part of my so if they're coming for a real-time session, so if they're coming to meet me and we're having a private session wherever it's going to be held, there is a form on my website and they tick what particular fetishes they want to explore with me. Sometimes though, if they're a newbie, they don't have enough experience or enough kinks that they're into yet. So I will try and push them a bit and I'll say, well, how do you feel about this? And, you know, you'll be so lucky to taste my spit and things like that. If you're taking some fluids from a woman, you know, you're so lucky. Or I have been known on occasion to spit in the bottle. Like if they've come with a bottle of water, I'll spit in it and give it to them as a going away gift.
Wow.
Sometimes they will have that. They're like, thank you, this just, oh my God, amazing.
Has any of them ever asked to drink your urine or for you to urinate on them?
Yes, they have, I
Okay.
don't do it with like people I don't know. I've done it with slaves that have served a long time, not urinated on them. I've peed in a glass because I don't do anything, like, as I say, that they see anything with my students. So I'll pee in a glass and they'll drink it, and again, it'll be the best drink they've ever had.
Oh my God. Is that healthy though? Like,
cheers to that.
Well, ask Jude, maybe he knows.
Is that healthy though, for them to drink that? Anyway, we can go on and on today and not end this because this is an interesting. So we're going to end it here. Thank you so much, Miss Foxx, for coming on the show.
Thank you too.
And as I said,
Miss Foxx, you're fantastic.
No worries. I really was. Oh, it's okay. No problem. I'd really love to see you all at a BDSM fetish event.
Send me an invite.
Invite us.
Trust me.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
We will all go. I will show you around, get to meet some people.
I'll be there.
Yes,
that would be great. Maybe the
yeah.
next convention, right? Send me an email when it's coming up, and we can pull some people together, and we can go and experience the Fandom community.
Yes, honestly, I would love to. I'd love to go there with you guys.
So
honestly,
when you see someone, when you see a guy, do you get the intuition whether or not they have a fetish?
Well, as in what, generally?
Yeah.
Not generally, not on first impression. However, when I did work in offices, wow, and even my vanilla friends have said this too, when a woman, her footwear, so men will notice a woman's shoes, they'll be like, oh, what shoes are you wearing today? I literally said in my
thank
last
goodness I didn't have that. Thank
goodness I
didn't say
my next question, Miss Foxx, can you sense any kink from Jude? Do you think he's into any kink fetish?
Well, obviously he said that he wants to explore some things with his wife. It could be anything. I think just general submission, I think you'd be interested in, like the dynamic. The submission part, and then anything you explore through that would be a dynamic for you to learn. And but I mean, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you and what you're going to learn about yourself. It really is because it's an amazing experience for a dominant woman, for a Black woman to learn that she's dominant anyway to start with, and then just to learn the kinky side of things.
I think Jude has said it on the show before. Sorry, Jude, I keep outing you all the time. Jude is into feet, so maybe and socks and things like that. So maybe some feet worshipping or something like that. Jude might. Okay, there you go. Why don't you just put that lubes on, Miss Foxx?
I know.
Anyway, I think we're going to end it here. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you being on the show. And again, you're so down to earth. You're easy to talk to. All we had to do was slide into your DM on Twitter, and here we are. Okay. So thank you so much, Miss Foxx. And we would like to have you back on the show.
I'd love to.
About other things as well. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you same time next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.